This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Chris Sheridan about Resident Alien. How are you, Chris?
I'm great, Abe. Thanks. Thanks for talking.
Of course, I've had a lot of conversations about Resident Alien, and we had the chance to meet in person maybe like 2 months ago, and
Did.
it's the first time that we actually spoke there. So I'm glad to be going behind the scenes after just talking to some of the fantastic actors you have there in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's they're fun to chat with.
So I had the chance to finish season 3, and I think it's definitely a very exciting sort of development. I want to issue a spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't seen the full season, but I'm curious when you had this sort of cliffhanger ending conceived of, and also if we still don't know about season 4, are you hoping this is what's going to really push us to get the renewal?
I didn't do it that way to get a renewal, but it definitely doesn't hurt. I think if you wrap things up like a bow, maybe it's easier to just move on to something else. So, but at the same time, I think what we're driven by in the writers' room is just telling the best story, and cliffhangers have a lot of power. And what's great about them is they do drive you into the next season. So it not just helps the excitement at the end of this season, but knock on wood, we get a season 4. We'll be able to have some launching off points, so you're not starting from nothing, in the first episode. There's a lot going on when you start the season, which makes it a lot more exciting for sure. There was another question, another part of that question. I forget what it was.
I don't even know anymore. We'll keep going. We'll
Let's
come
just keep
back to
going.
it. No, I also like the way that we find out that, what has happened with Max seeing a different alien there. And I think that's sort of a cool reveal that you could only have in this very specific world of this show.
It is true. That sort of came naturally out of the moment. Oh, I remember the question before was, when did we know we were going to do that cliffhanger? I think I don't remember. I think it was later in the process. I think we knew we didn't know exactly what the ending was going to be. I think we knew there was going to be some jeopardy for Harry at the end, but I'm not quite sure we knew what it was, and which is a little bit nerve-wracking as you start breaking stories and you're going through and you're shooting stuff and you're not quite sure where it's going. But yeah, then we discussed that, and it seemed like not only a great way to end the season, but like I said, like a great launching point into the next season. Because it's not just that storyline, the other storylines as well. There's a lot going on. One thing I've learned is not to hold back story. I think sometimes in these cases, because you have to fill so much time and you got to tell so many different episode stories, there's a tendency sometimes to say, oh, let's not do this too quickly, we got to get there. But with so many shows on TV these days, and people get bored pretty quick, so we definitely have taken the approach of, build to something big, tell exciting, fun stories, and then just trust that you'll find something new to pivot to. And when you get there, and you can always fill that void. So, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, the Sheriff Mike stuff is big. That sort of turns his world on its head. Harry's in a difficult place. Darcy's got a baby that she's trying to give to Ben and Kate. So we'll see what happens with all of that.
I think we've seen, memory wipes in the past, but now it feels like even if people don't know who Harry is, everybody knows that there are aliens. And that's a pretty big shift.
It is a big shift. Everyone knows that there are aliens in general. I mean, Liv always believed it. Mike now knows. Ben and Kate now know. Some of the fun of season 4 is, Liv doesn't know that Mike knows. Mike and Liv don't know that Ben and Kate know. So, playing that out, I don't think it's an easy thing to admit to people in your life. I think it's easier these days because more and more people are like, oh, another UFO? Cool. But it's not an easy thing to admit to someone in your life that you've been abducted by aliens, because they'll think you're insane. So I don't think it comes out very easily, but I like, from a writing standpoint, that's fun. It's fun information to have hanging out there and waiting to find out who finds out what secret. Because then you have those people on one side, then you have the Asta, Darcy, Harry camp, who not only know about Harry, but also know about aliens. And so what's happening, and this was by design from the beginning, is there's different factions of people that know nothing, people know something, and they're all slowly sort of coming together. as the seasons go along. So it's creatively, a season 4 would be would be a lot of fun.
Like that. I also remember, I think I watched some of the later seasons of the X-Files after Lost and saw, Terry O'Quinn as like a super soldier. And I was like, that's really cool. And we
Yeah.
sort of get something like that here. Is the plan, if things go well, to have Terry O'Quinn take on a more prominent role, or are we sort of just going to get a little bit of him?
The let's put it this way, the CGI suit that we have on Terry is very expensive. So no, we'll see Terry again. That's the key to this stuff. Honestly, even in that 8th episode, is finding the moments to even see gray aliens, because there's a production issue with that. It's a little bit like shooting Jaws, where the shark didn't work, and then so they couldn't really see the shark, but not seeing it actually made it work even better. There's a little bit of that, I think, where if you see gray aliens walking around through your entire show, they have less weight. So I think in that way, and seeing the breadth, the extent of Terry's abilities, as the robo tracker, I think we're going to see more, but I think there's so many characters now to service, which happens on any of these shows as they build and build. We'll definitely see Terry. I haven't quite figured out what the storylines are yet, but we'll definitely have him back if he'll have us. And he's a fan of the show, so I think he'll want to come back.
Well, it's been very impressive. I mean, Alan Tudyk, just in general, like, there's a huge Firefly crowd. You have Linda Hamilton, brings all the Terminator fans. You had Alex Borstein in an episode randomly, which was a nice treat. There's just seems like the people who know about this show, which is something we've talked about, are clearly very passionate and they want to be a part of it. So if people are watching this interview and have gotten this far, they're probably fans of the show. But what's the next step to really bring this to the world, aside from its Netflix launch, to get more eyes on it?
Mark Hamill, we're coming after you, Mark. We want you to do it.
I
Look,
think you would. I really do.
I think we've been the little show that could. I think since we shot the pilot in 2018, it's been a weird time to do a show because we had COVID for years, and so unfortunately we were doing a show and there's no red carpets, there's no parties, there's no premieres, there's none of this stuff. So all the actors were sort of performing this thing in a bubble. So it is nice now that we're beyond that a little bit, and now it's on, the Netflix bump has brought more fans to the show. So I think our goal has always been just try to do a good show and hopefully the audience will find us. It doesn't hurt for sure to pull in Linda, Terry, who are such fantastic actors, B, such nice people, and Alex Borstein, who's been a friend of mine for years from Family Guy days. Edie Patterson, who's a friend of mine now, who I had not met before, but is also one of the nicest people in the world. We've gotten so lucky getting really good people on the show, talent-wise, and also just kind, and they play well with others, and it seems like we're all finding each other to sort of create this weird show. But it definitely helps bringing in actors of that caliber into the cast we already have, who are amazing. There hasn't been any duds at all, and sometimes in these shows you just never know. You bring someone on, it doesn't work. Everyone's fantastic. The chemistry is great with everybody, and it's so much fun to see them work. And I think if we keep telling good stories, I think the audience will continue growing. I hope.
I'd also love to see a crossover with a canceled show, which I guess probably wouldn't really boost ratings because those shows got canceled in the first place. But like Dollhouse, you already have, Enver and Alan, or People of Earth, which I think we talked about, where Alice.
Sure.
That's such a similar show in so many ways that I feel like a great way to really connect things. Again, not to draw on viewership, it would probably turn people off because they haven't seen those. But I think it would be great and pretty wonderful to relive
We've talked
those.
about that. We've talked about at least doing little nods to shows like that, and we have done some stuff in the past. There was one this past year. There was in one of our scenes where we were seeing spaceships. There was one where we ended up not being able to do it, but we were going to just in the background see part of like the Firefly ship. But we haven't done that. But we have tried. Season 1. There's a fantasy sequence where a piano falls on Max's head, and he's holding a lunchbox and it says "Con Man" on it, which is one, Alan's other show. and it happens so fast that you don't see it unless you're looking for it, then you see it. We try to do little things like that to keep the fans happy. And
And
fans
I
from the
do
comic book as well, by the way. We try to,
of
for,
course, yeah.
Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse's fantastic Resident Alien comic, we've tried to recreate some images from the comic. And, you know, there was a scene, a frame in the comic where Asta was sitting on a bench with um, a, a shoulder bag. And we had a bag of the exact same kind made, so it would look like the exact same bag, and had that in the show. And we try to match some stuff from the comic to get, you know, for fans too.
I would assume that right now, no news is good news. There's still hope of something
True.
coming, even though it's been a while, unfortunately, right?
It's been a while, but that is consistent with our season 3 pickup as well. Came quite a while after we aired season 2. It's just the way that they do it at this company. So I'm hoping to find something out sooner than later, because, you know, I'm getting hounded about it by everyone in my family and everyone, you know, I talk to. They're all asking if when there's a season 4, when is it coming? And the truth is, once we started, it's still a ways before the audience is going to get it. So I'm eager to start into it. Like I said, we're really lucky that we were able to put some cliffhangers in the show in season 3. It really helps launching into season 4. And I already have a 1,000 ideas to do for season 4, so it's going to be fantastic.
Great. Well, while we're waiting, what have you been watching? Is there anything you've seen recently that you feel like is particularly awards worthy, a show or a performance or anything?
That's a great question. Well, Alan Tudyk. That's what I'm watching for an award. I started watching Sugar, with Colin Farrell, who I sat on a plane with once, next to him. I mean, I'm not friends with him, but I just happened to be next to him. And the flight attendant called him Mr. Firth, thinking he was Colin Firth. And I couldn't help but just start laughing. And then he started laughing. And then she came back and apologized. That's why I root for him, because of that. I'm a big Colin Farrell fan. I don't know. What else is on that's great? No. I mean,
So
you tell me, Abe, what are you watching that I should be
I was
watching?
just distracted imagining the Sugar Resident Alien crossover, where
There,
somehow,
there might be.
Harry's just bothering him so much. And he's like, I don't need you around here. I'm telling somebody I'm doing this.
Yes, yes.
So
I look at
there's,
this. I have this in the wings.
I like that. That's great. That's
A
great.
little Bridget, foamy. Trying to get them to make
That's,
this a merchandise.
I,
But
I like it. I like it. Well, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and hopefully coming soon we'll have Resident Alien season 4. But in the meantime, Chris, it's really great to finally talk to you on the record, and I hope to
yes,
do it again soon.
I love it. Thank you, Abe, as always.